Stan walked in the invitee list. I wish I had, because loved the place, and he had a lot to do with the place as well.
Stan and Dan. All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We'll call the meeting to order with my special mallet here tonight. If you'd all please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Sean, will you please call roll?
Deputy Mayor Wells.
Here.
Councilmember Baggett.
Here.
Councilmember DeCoursey.
Here.
Councilmember Holman.
Here.
Councilmember Plozak.
Here.
Councilmember Trout-Manuel. Here. And Councilmember Wagner.
Here.
All right. So on the agenda this evening, for those of you that were here, we did have a reception prior to the council meeting this evening to say thank you and farewell, not goodbye, to Councilmember Rich Wagner. And so for tonight's meeting, we also have a proclamation. So I'm going to stand. So Rich, would you please stand as well? We're not going to awkwardly walk out front there, so we'll just do it right here. But we do have a proclamation to hopefully give a little bit of the appreciation, that will share a little bit of the appreciation for what you have meant to the city of Auburn. Whereas Richard Wagner was first appointed to the Auburn City Council on April 5th, 1990, and then elected to office beginning January 1992. He has diligently and effectively served as a city council member since first taking office. And whereas Rich Wagner has contributed regionally by serving on the Puget Sound Regional Council Transportation Policy Board, the Metropolitan Solid Waste Management Advisory Committee, the Regional Access Mobility Partnership, the Puyallup River Watershed Forum, the Pierce County Regional Council, the Valley Regional Fire Authority Board of Governance, and the Auburn Arts Commission. None of those have small, short names, do they? And whereas, during the last 27 years, the tenure of Richard Wagner's service as an Auburn City Council member, he has seen many changes at City Hall, in the Auburn community, and in the regional community within which Auburn is located. And whereas there have been important and valuable changes that occurred within the city of Auburn, and residents and visitors have benefited from the wise counsel and prudent suggestions of Councilmember Richard Wagner. And whereas Councilmember Wagner served the city during some of the most transformational times, including the annexations of Lakeland Hills, West Hill and Lee Hill, the creation of the Transit Center, development of the Outlet Collection Mall, formerly the Super Mall, and Emerald Downs. And whereas Richard Wagner has contributed significantly to the city of Auburn's partnerships and positive relationship with the Muckleshoot Indian tribe over the years of his tenure as an Auburn City Council member. And whereas high among the many accomplishments to which Councilmember Wagner can point as evidence of his valuable contributions to the Auburn City Council and the city of Auburn is completion of the Lescove Park Community and Events Center, in which we are this evening. Something for which Councilmember Wagner vigorously pursued for many years, many decades, in fact, while on the City Council, and something that will serve the members of the Auburn community for many years to come. Now, therefore, I, Nancy Backus, Mayor of Auburn, do hereby proclaim December 18th, 2017 as Councilmember Richard Wagner Day, and deem it an honor to extend our gratitude to Councilmember Wagner for his years of service to the Auburn community, dated this 18th day of December, 2017. Thank you, Rich, for your many years of service, for your wisdom, for your guidance, and it won't be the same without you. We will miss you, we will honor your legacy, and we know that we will hear from you. So as I've said, this is not goodbye, simply until we meet again.
Again? Oh, okay.
We have appointments this evening. Reappointment to boards and commissions. City Council to confirm the reappointments for the following board and commission members for a new 3-year term expiring December 31st, 2020. To the Arts Commission, Dan Norman. Auburn Lodging Tax Advisory Committee, Aman Haag. Auburn Tourism Board, Julie Kruger and Rachel McAllister. BIA Ratepayer Committee, Bill Cowart. Human Services Committee, Jason Berry, Marilyn Schultz, Cecilia Bruger. Parks and Recreation Board, Michael Hassan. Planning Commission, Judy Rowland. Urban Tree Board, Bryce Landred and Jan Spear. And White River Valley Historical Society, Ronnie Beiersdorf. Do we have a motion? Councilmember Wagner.
Oh, yeah, he should, yeah. Great.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move for the appointment of the people that you named, and it's a great indication of the way Auburn citizens participate and the city listens to what you say.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Councilmember Pelosi.
I'll second it, Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the appointments, the reappointments to the boards that were listed with 3-year term expiring December 31st, 2020, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Passes. Sean, do we have any agenda modifications?
No, Your Honor.
All right, we will go to public hearings. We have a public hearing for Community Development Block Grant 2018 Action Plan. City Council to conduct a public hearing to receive public comments and suggestions with regards to the 2018 Annual Action Plan as required by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Do we have a staff report this evening? Okay, just wondering. All right, we will, with my special gavel tonight, we will open the public hearing. Is there anyone that would like to speak on the 2018 Annual Action Plan for Community Development Block Grant? Please come forward, give your name and address for the record, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes. And please make sure that you, if you do have comments tonight, that you sit at the table so that the microphone will pick up your voice.
Virginia Haugen, 250.
Virginia, could you please sit?
Sit?
That's the request, that you sit in the chair so that the microphone can pick your voice up. Thank you.
Virginia Haugen, 2503 R Street Southeast. I have an action plan for the city of Auburn. Fix the streets. Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else that would like to speak on the public hearing topic of Community Development Block Grant funding? All right, hearing none, we will close the public hearing and we will move on to audience participation. This is the place on the agenda where the public is invited to speak to the City Council on any issue. Those wishing to speak are reminded to sign in on the form provided. Is there anyone that would like to speak? Ma'am in the back, please come forward, give your name and address for the record. Please sit at the table and limit comments to 3 minutes.
Good afternoon. My name is Pauline Caldwell. I live at 1120 8th Street Northeast, condo number 8 here in Auburn. Let me take my breath here. I issued some letters that I had tried to contact our representatives, and I've been doing this for, a few times. I'm not happy with what's going on in our society at this time, but I won't bore you with all of that. The last thing I did was I wrote a letter to Mr. Dave Brecker, and I got his response. I sent a copy of it to you here on the councilman, and I'm wondering at this time, could I possibly read that letter to you, if it's okay?
Certainly, that's part of your 3 minutes.
Okay. I received your response, and I'm even more concerned with your decision to vote for this tax cut. I could hardly read that regurgitated nonsense your party is spouting to convince the poor and middle class you're on our side. I'm grateful of the ability to voice my opinion, but I must ask, did you actually read my letter? Furthermore, did you read the tax bill in its entirety before you voted? I ask because you have neglected to answer my concerns of my prior letter to you. Again, what about the thousands upon thousands of senior households whose income is above the proposed 12,000 single, 24,000 married? We seniors, long past having dependents, aren't eligible for this tax cut and feel being targeted, especially without our medical deductions to pick up the slack. Remember, not everyone benefits using a short form for taxes. I don't understand how it's permissible to give a permanent tax cut to corporations and a temporary short-term tax cut to the middle class. How does that solve anything? I watched on television a room full of corporate representatives respond when asked, raise your hands if you're going to reinvest back to your workers. A meager few, not even a handful, raised their hands in response. If I remember correctly, these same corporations already use loopholes to cut their taxes significantly. I heard your president insisting, I'm smart, I don't pay taxes, and then blamed Hillary for not closing those loopholes. You are giving billions in returns to the rich while crumbs to the working class. Do you really think we should be grateful? It's a proven fact. Trickle-down economics don't work, never have and never will. Those who forget their past are doomed to repeat it. Do you know the definitions of insanity? When one repeats over and over the same failed behavior expecting a different outcome. I have to wonder just where your party fits. Are you giving the rich a tax break to feed their greed? Even worse, creating a caste society. Bring to mind Matthew 19:24. It's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of God. Or rushing a tax cut, not consider the benefits of all, just to have accomplished something. Or maybe blindly being led into ignorance, a darkness that will bring devastation not only to my children, grandchildren, but also yours to suffer as well, living with a deficit that will fall on their heads for years to come.
Ma'am, I need to wrap it up, please. We're up to 3 minutes.
Okay. But anyway, I wrote this letter because of my concern for the seniors. Somehow or another, we've been left out of that tax plan that they're creating for this great nation of ours. And I'm just wondering if there's anything other than voting that can be done to assist.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I believe we all have copies of the letters that you have written. You provided copies for all of
I had
us.
several that I'd written beforehand.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, is there anyone else that would like to speak? Please come forward, give your name and address for the record. Limit comments to 3 minutes, please.
Good evening. Merry Christmas to you all. I hope you can hear me. I can hear nothing that's coming across this way, but I'll try to help you hear me as well. My name is Betsy Howe. I live at 29312 118th Avenue Southeast. It's a road that has really been put upon, as well as all the citizens who live on it, by a development called the Bridges, which is an island of the city of Kent. We are in political nowhere land on that road because the city of Kent is impacting our lives, but we have no political clout with the city of Kent, even though we have attended their meetings and given them an earful. I've lived at the end of that road for 25 years, and I've seen a lot of changes there. One thing that hasn't changed is we're a very popular drag strip. I hope that doesn't get out into the public, but it's certainly well known by the teenagers. They rev up and peel out at the far north end, which is where I live, and they just gun it all the way down the street and hit a couple bumps that I have actually seen cars airborne. That is just not safe. You've done a lot of things to that street. but I'm not sure they're based on input from any of the people who live there. So one point I would like to make is that before road improvements are done, it would be very helpful if you actually talk to the people who live on the roads. We know where the problems are, and we may have some recommendations before things are done. Curbing was put in along both sides for walking paths. So now delivery trucks and other vehicles cannot pull off the side of the road when they need to get out of the way for somebody. There have been lights put in where light poles are about 10 feet from each other. Just, crazy things that perhaps if there were a way citizens could make input to road improvements, that would be very helpful. As the Bridges has built out, it is built out from 124th and hasn't reached 118th yet, but there is a very large egress onto 118th. The way they've set up the sidewalks, the cars have to stop well before they can see cars coming down that have the right-of-way. And I can't tell you how many times I have or I've seen people almost get smacked because people were coming out of that egress and they couldn't see people coming down the hill. I would just like the city to take some time and perhaps offer the opportunity for people to meet with the city of Kent. We have called about drug problems in that area. I've called 911 to the city of Kent and argued with the person to explain it's a Kent address. Their city police actually came out and met with some of us and had no idea that was Kent property. It's really scary to know that we're having problems, and it really is the city of Auburn that responds more to our policing needs. So just in summary, it's an area that we could really use more interface with the city. We could use more traffic mitigation. And at this point, there's no housing at that end of the development. If a gate could be put across there for emergency purposes only, it would be very helpful. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Please come forward, give your name and address for the record, and please limit comments to 3 minutes.
I'm only here for one reason. Virginia Haugen, 2503 R Street Southeast. I would like to second whatever it was. I couldn't hear her a lot, but I want to second most of what that lady said. But I'm only really here for one reason. Rich Wagner knows why I'm here. There's probably not a single person in this entire room who has spent more and better time listening and learning from Rich Wagner. He made a mistake one time. He talked to a reporter, and a lot of my friends got very angry about what he said, and I said, hey, if you knew Rich Wagner the way I knew Rich Wagner, you would be paying lots of attention to what he says. The guy is, the guy is so smart. He is so educated. When all those businessmen thought they were going to wrap him right around their little fingers, it didn't work. And when we got too loud in that committee meeting, he didn't even have to lift the gavel. He touched the gavel, and he said to us, could we just cool it a little bit, maybe bring it down a little decimal or whatever. And you know, maybe we shouldn't get so angry. And we settled right down, and Council Member, the Honorable Mr. Wagner, went right on with our meeting. I have a picture at my house. And when people say, why do you have that picture? I said, because that is Rich Wagner standing beside me. He beat me by 197 votes in 1990. And a month and a half later, I said, thank God, Rich Wagner beat me. Nobody has ever done it like Rich Wagner has done it. I am so grateful to a guy who could give back so much to his community. He was never just a dignitary. He has the best suspenders you ever saw in your life, and he's worn them ever since I ever met him, I'm sure. When he points at a picture and you know what he is going to say is going to mean a great deal to everybody in this city, you pay attention. Thank you so much, Rich, for serving your community, not as a dignitary, not as a guy in a striped suit pushing a cart down the main street, but serving your committee, always coming down, doing the work, being smarter than the dumb housewife that is in the picture, standing while you look down on top of my head with a silly grin on your face, because we both knew how proud I was to serve with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Please come forward, give your name and address for the record, and limit comments to 3 minutes, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kyle Orsini. I live at 6118 South 294th Street, Auburn, Washington, 98001. First and foremost, I just want to thank you for the time this evening to speak about what I find important. I think it's really great that we have these city council meetings, that everyone gets a chance and everyone gets a voice, and I think that's really awesome. And secondly, Mr. Wagner, congratulations on tonight. You've done great service for, what was it, 27 years now? Congratulations, sir. Firstly, I'd like to offer up the idea of either A, more budgeting towards road reconstruction, or B, more projects on fixing roads. For anyone that's driven around Auburn for at least a year has seen that our roads aren't all perfect, but that comes with any city. And I don't expect every single one to be as perfect as the yellow brick road. However, there are a small handful of roads that really should be looked at and repaired. To name just a few, West Valley Highway North, 15th Street Southwest, and 37th Street Northwest. These roads, while currently drivable, have plenty of potholes, bumpy edges, and some of them with even fading paint. I figure that with more budgeting to road construction, or even just more projects, we can have much smoother, easier to drive upon roads. Lastly, there are 2 roads in particular that I think should have a higher limit of speed. Those roads being B Street Northwest and 10th Street Northeast, my bad. With the current speeds that they're at, I just feel it's a little too slow. As we all know, with Auburn, you get a lot of long stretches of roads, and I just feel the speed limits, standing at 30, 35, maybe just might be a little too slow. I'm not thinking anything crazy like 60 or anything like a highway, but preferably 40 to 45. In conclusion, with slightly higher speed limits and improved roadways, I can see an improvement on overall car health and citizen happiness. I hope you take my proposal into consideration. Thank you for hearing everything I had to say tonight. And on a side note, I hope everyone has a great evening. Let's take care of each other out here. We're all we got. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to speak tonight? Please come forward, name and address for the record, please, and comments at 3 minutes.
My name is Larry Smith. I live at 3002 318th Avenue Southeast. I'd like to offer some feedback on what the city has accomplished on 118th. First, they installed signs, warning signs or caution signs to warn people about the blind spots. They've done absolutely no good. They didn't even pay attention to them. It didn't abate or didn't even calm the traffic. The next, they put in a speed indicator down the hill. That's supposed to tell people that they're going too fast. That didn't work. That actually enhanced the racing on 118th Avenue Southeast. I raced side by side up that street. So that didn't work. Then there came the rumble strips. The first day, people slowed down because they didn't know what the hell they were running into. But after that didn't work. Now it's a musical thing. You hear it go bang, 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 then you hear it. And you know the speed. So I guess the city hasn't accomplished anything. We're still waiting for something. And I think you've all seen my petitions. No? I recommended a number of different things, and they were all turned down or put aside. The last one was regrading. Now, regrading won't stop the speeding, but it'll give us a chance to see what's coming. The safest thing to do, and will work, is photo-enforced radar. You know it works. They say it doesn't, you eliminated all of that in Auburn. But that's something that's going to be needed. But we needed something 24/7. Just a cop coming up there once a month doesn't do it. Would anybody have any comments on that?
So, sir, this is
Nothing?
for
Anyhow.
public comment, but it's not intended to be a
Okay.
two-way conversation during public comment period.
Anyhow, that's about it. We would appreciate if somebody would help us, because it's a matter of time when somebody's going to get killed up there. There was one bad accident, a near fatal accident already. That's what prompted all this stuff from the city, and I'm sure you're aware of that. The woman was driving over that hump doing 75 miles an hour. She hit a vehicle pulling out. Spun her around, across the sidewalk on the other side, back over, rolled her over, and she suffered a broken back. And when they looked at their onboard computer, she was doing 75 when the airbags went off. But the right side of the whole thing is, the two little kids she had in the back were uninjured. Two little kids riding back there. She didn't live in that street. She didn't live anywhere in the neighborhood. She was joyriding, which a lot of them do. They want that Steve McQueen bullet effect. I'm sure you're aware of that. Anyhow, we need help. We need it bad. We need it now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. All right. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Final time. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? All right. We will move on. There is no correspondence for council review this evening, so we will move to council ad hoc committee reports. And we have the Finance Ad Hoc Committee, Councilmember Baggett.
Thank you, Your Honor. As members of the Council Ad Hoc Finance Committee, Councilmember Wagner and I reviewed the payroll vouchers for approximately $2.2 million and claims vouchers for approximately $6.2 million for the periods November 30th through December 13th and December 18th, respectively. All questions asked by the Finance Directorate were answered satisfactorily, and the committee recommends council approval of these expenses. Now, having said all that, as chair of the Finance Committee, we will be looking for another person to fill the council member Wagner's shoes, if even remotely possible. Larry? All kidding aside, it has been a real pleasure working with Rich for the past 2 years on this committee, and I'm looking forward to many more years of his friendship. Thank you.
Thank you. And I believe we have another ad hoc committee. Councilmember DeCoursey, has the committee met at all yet?
We have not. We're doing our initial meeting on December 29th.
Okay, thank you. All right, we will move to the consent agenda. All matters listed on the consent agenda are considered by the City Council to be routine and will be enacted by one motion in the form listed. Do I have a motion? Deputy Mayor Wells.
Thank you, Your Honor. I recommend that we approve the consent agenda. Now, on the agenda for this evening, we have the minutes of the December.
If I could get a second first, and then you can do the
yes, thank
explanation.
you.
All right, is there a second for Councilmember Trout-Manuel?
I second that, Mayor.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Wells.
Thank you. Listed on the consent agenda is the December 4th, 2017 regular City Council meetings, the vouchers and payroll vouchers that Councilmember Baggett spoke to earlier and recommended approval. We have, being the end of the year, several public works projects final payment. We have Public Works Project CP 1415. We have Public Works Project CP 1507, which is to do work on the Auburn Way North Preservation. We have Public Works Project CP 1522, which is a final pay estimate for the 30th Street Northeast area flooding, Phase 1B. Final pay estimate for Public Works Project CP 1613 for the M&O Facility Building Roofing Replacement Project. And finally, Public Works Project CP 1701, which is a final pay estimate for the dynamic message sign project. All of these items were discussed at our last study session meeting.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. Passes. Okay, we have no unfinished business. We have no new business, so we will move on to ordinances. Mr. City Attorney.
Ordinance number 667, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Auburn, Washington, adopting 2017 Annual Comprehensive Plan map and text amendments pursuant to the provisions of RCW Chapter 3670A, and adopting corresponding rezones related to certain of the map amendments, and creating a new section 18.01.050 to the City Code relating to planning.
Thank you. Do I have a motion? Councilmember Pelosi.
Thank you, Mayor. I move acceptance of ordinance 6667.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Councilmember Wagner.
Second the motion, Your Honor.
Thank you. Councilmember Pelosi.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a comprehensive plan, map, and policy text amendments for the associated rezones within the city. There are 9 policy text amendments. There are 17 map amendments, and this is will make things in alignment with other policies within the city.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? Deputy Mayor Wells.
I have some questions because I'm not sure as I read this if I understand it. So if you could turn to page 82 of 436. My question here is, are we zoning tribal property or are we not? And do we have the authority or are we not zoning it?
So it is my understanding that we have the authority to zone, but it is only as realizing that the tribe has authority over that, but we do have the authority to provide a land designation for if at any point in time the tribe no longer owns the property. Is that correct, Mr. City Attorney?
Yeah, that is correct. You could have concurrent zoning. The zoning would be informational only until some time which the status of the property changed, or the zoning might apply to a non-member owner within the reservation or tribal area.
Should that be clarified in this document, or do most people who would take the time to read this document understand that that's implied in this language?
Well, I do think that a change was made recently, and I'll call your attention to Section 6. You probably know about this, but it was added, I think, for the purpose that you are indicating, an amendment to the code clarifying that the zoning changes would be for informational purposes.
Can you show me where that is in the document?
Yeah, I'm sorry, it's page 114 of 436, Section 6.
It's going to take me a while.
114.
Okay. What specific lines?
It's all of Section 6.
All of Section 6. Thank you very much for the clarification. Thank you, Mayor.
Mayor Jackson.
Councilmember Pelosi.
Yes, I just wanted to provide information to the council. Tonight, I greeted Muckleshoot Indian Tribe Virginia Cross chairman, and I was just chatting with her about this, and she feels very supportive of the language change.
We have been working closely with their tribal attorneys as well as
Right.
Tribal Chair Cross on this. All right. Are there any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of ordinance number 6667, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Passes.
Ordinance number 6668, ordinance of the City Council of the City of Auburn, Washington, amending sections 19.02.115, 19.02.120, 19.02.130, and 19.02.140 of the Auburn City Code relating to school impact fees.
Thank you. Is there a motion? Councilmember Wagner.
Move for the adoption, or for the introduction and adoption of ordinance 6668.
Thank you. Is there a second? Councilmember Holman.
Second.
Thank you. Councilmember Wagner.
Well, each year the school districts that have some of their area within the city of Auburn bring forward their calculations of what the impact fees should be for new development. And we usually honor those directly after reviewing their methodology, and I think in this case that's what we're doing again.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? Deputy Mayor Wells.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm sounding like a broken record, and I brought this up at the study session, and that I feel that Auburn has done an excellent job over the decades of trying to keep ahead of its growth and being responsible as it relates to what it charges for school impact fees for multiple families and single families. But I feel, though we're talking about Auburn, the Federal Way School District, which is in part of our jurisdiction, I'm really saddened by what they're proposing for multiple family costs per unit, and feel that in the long haul, what that's going to do is cut down on the multiple family units that they build because of the cost to the developers, and force more multiple family units because of how reasonable we are into our jurisdiction or our city limits, when we really need to share the load across South King County and across the county as it relates to the impact of low-income people and multiple housing units. And I hope that the people that may be in the audience that sometimes talk to some of the other school districts can share this concern. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? Councilmember Holman.
The city of Federal Way, or not the city, the Federal Way School District only has a very narrow band of land that extends into the jurisdiction of Auburn. And I have not made a detailed study, but looking at the map, it appears that none of the Federal Way School District that's within Auburn is zoned for multifamily anyway, so the concern is moot. It's not, they're not going to be a multifamily zoning there.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Deputy Mayor Wells.
I guess I look at us more as a global community, and I think that Councilmember Holman is correct. If you look at the land that's even available in the portion of Auburn, there isn't any land available for multiple housing. And what they've done, though, is made the rest of Federal Way so expensive that nothing will be built there either, pushing everything our way. That was the point I was trying to make. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of ordinance number 6668, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Passes. Resolutions?
Resolution number 5323, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Auburn, Washington, authorizing the mayor to execute a Fourth Amendment to the Transit Service Direct Financial Partnership Agreement between the City of Auburn, King County, and Pierce County Public Transit Benefit Authority.
Thank you. Do I have a motion? Deputy Mayor Wells.
I move for the approval of resolution number 5323.
Thank you. Is there a second? Councilmember Trout Manuel.
I second that, Mayor.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Wells.
We studied this at our last study session, and this is a continuation of a previous contract with some enhancements. And anything that we can do to enhance and provide better public transit services for our community at a reasonable cost, I think is positive action.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor of resolution number 5323, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. Passes.
Resolution number 5333, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Auburn, Washington, authorizing the mayor to execute an interlocal agreement between the City of Auburn and King County Department of Transportation relating to the commute trip reduction plan.
Thank you. Is there a motion? Councilmember Wagner.
Move for the adoption of resolution 5333.
Thank you. Is there a second? Councilmember Pelosi.
I'll second, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Wagner.
For about the past 10 years, the state has mandated that cities with certain size of businesses work with those businesses and with your own employees to reduce the congestion of commuting. I'd say it's been slightly successful, but we might as well keep doing it because it helps a little bit.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of resolution number 5333, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. Passes.
Resolution number 5336, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Auburn, Washington, authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement between the City of Auburn and Recology Cleanscapes for a litter control and recycling program.
Thank you. Do I have a motion? Councilmember Holman.
Yes, I move for the adoption of resolution number 5333.
Oh,
No.
5336.
Oh, pardon me, 5336.
Thank you. Is there a second? Councilmember DeCoursey.
I'll second the motion, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is a contract between City of Auburn and Recology Cleanscapes for litter control and recycling. Represents a 5% increase in what they charge us. They do the litter removal and trash can service on 85 miles of City of Auburn streets.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? Deputy Mayor Wells.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would have liked to have seen this come to a study session. And the reason for that is we've had some concerns over the last year about the cleanliness of our streets, litter, and other things. And we've even gone on to discuss the concept of a more efficient way to do grocery cart removal. And I think it would be nice if we could review this with staff and make sure at this annual time that is in covering what some of us believe are enhanced needs that we have as it relates to the presentation of our town. So I'd like to defer this until we have a study session on it.
Require a motion and a second, or just a motion?
I believe a motion in a second.
All right. So, Deputy Mayor, would you like to make a motion?
I move that we refer this item to a study session.
Is there a second? Councilmember Trout Manuel.
I second that.
Okay, there's no discussion. There's no discussion on that. Is that correct?
So there can always be discussion, but then you can't do anything else until you.
Okay. Councilmember Trout Manuel.
You know, I was going to talk about this because on Thursday we went to coffee hours at the senior center, and there were several of the ladies there that was talking and asking questions about the garbage downtown. That they went shopping and they almost slipped due to the leaves and some trash along the businesses on Main Street, and so I directed them to the appropriate department, but they said they'd been concerned about the trash and everything, so I was going to bring this up at our study session, but I'm glad Mrs. Wells brought it in here.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Councilmember Pelosi.
I was in that same coffee hour with the seniors, and I agree with Councilmember Trout Manuel. There was concern about leaves on sidewalks on Main Street by the businesses. And they were wondering why the businesses weren't cleaning out in front of their, their business.
I don't believe leave cleanup is part of what Recology does. That is, I'm getting a head shake from Director Coleman that is not part of the Recology contract to clean up leaves. So, Shelley, do you want to give us?
This is an extension of the well, it's not an extension, it's a new contract with Recology. We had them last year for the first year. They picked up where Avadas services left off, and it's the same type of services, but we do have something in the contract for a la carte service on call. They pick up trash, they circulate throughout the city. They do Lee Hill, they do West Hill, they do Lakeland area, they do North Auburn, and they concentrate on the downtown core on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So they're doing the downtown core, which is first north to first south, and between Auburn Way and about the train tracks to the west. So they are down there 3 days a week, emptying the trash in the downtown core. Now, we've had what we thought was really good response from them and good customer service, and this is the first that we have heard that maybe not so.
Councilmember Pelosi.
I was driving down Main Street 2 or 3 days ago, and not just because of what happened at our coffee hour, but I was down there doing some business, and I did notice there were several areas where leaves, wet leaves, were attached to the sidewalk. So maybe we could have them walk down Main Street sidewalk and clean it up, maybe,
yeah,
in those
we can get
areas?
that cleaned up, and we can work with the street department as well as this contractor to get the leaves cleaned
Yeah,
up.
if we can, if we can have that done, and I noticed that there have been other bodies out there with buckets, police in the area, but I did happen to notice those piles of leaves. So my feeling is if you can assure us that that will be done, then I'm ready to pass this resolution.
We will be sure to get that done, and probably could be done within the next few days. They're pretty responsive.
Thank you.
And if I could get the locations, that would be great. To be specific, and then they'll look around also. There were a lot of leaves this year.
So Shelley, you're saying that within the body of the contract, it is saying that there can be ad hoc services provided?
Yes.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Wells.
Okay, I do see here under specific tasks, it does say blow and sweeps, building edges to curb lines in core areas as needed. Please note that on 104th, going up the hill, for 7 days now, there's a couch and a sectional in the ditch by the side of the road.
On 104th?
Yes.
Okay.
But I think that we need to go through this, and this is an opportunity to talk about the grocery carts. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor of sending resolution number 5336 back to council for a study session, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no.
No.
Okay, we need to do a hand vote. Those in favor of sending it back to council study session, please raise your hand. Have 1, 2, 3. Those opposed, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. The motion does not pass. Okay, so currently we have on the floor resolution number 5336. Is there any additional comment? Hearing none, all those in favor of resolution number 5336, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no.
No.
Okay, we need a hand vote again, just to be sure. Those in favor of Resolution 5336, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
So I'm sorry,
No,
George, how did
I'm
you
sorry.
hand up or no?
No, I said no.
Okay, so we have 5 in favor. Those opposed, please raise your hand.
Councilmember
Those
Trump.
opposed? Okay, we have 2 opposed. The motion passes. All right.
Resolution number 5337, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Auburn, Washington, adopting the 2018 Community Development Block Grant Action Plan for the consolidated plan years 2015 through 2019.
Thank you. Do we have a motion? Councilmember Manuel?
I make a motion that we bring 5337 and accept it. This is when I...
No, you wait
okay.
until we have a second. Is there a second? Councilmember Holman?
I second.
Thank you. Councilmember Trout Manuel?
This has got to do with the Housing and Urban Development, HUD, and every year we have to fill the requirement of the Community Development Block Grant. And this is just for us to go back and be able to put the application to show how we spend the money.
Thank you. Questions? Councilmember Pelosi?
Thank you, Mayor. Several years ago, under Mayor Lewis, we had a very similar CDBG approval before us. And the question came up about measurement. How do you measure where some of these monies are being spent? And are they worthwhile, et cetera? So on page 411 of our packet, 411 of 436, I'd like to draw your attention to item 3, evaluation of past performance, the last bullet. The last bullet says 20 low to moderate income Auburn residents received employment, training, and supportive services. My question is, do we monitor these 20 folks to see how successful they've been after the training? That's my question.
Joy or Dana, do you want to?
Good evening. I'm Joy Scott, the Human Services Manager. So we perform monitoring on the agencies that carry out those services. That particular body of work is carried out by the Multi-Service Center. They are, we subcontract with them, and so we don't follow the individuals themselves. We're not given, their names or contact info directly. But that agency tracks their progress and provides us with quarterly reports, and we could certainly provide those to you.
And could I ask another question? So the staff review of that report or reports, have they been favorable, or can you give us any spot check on that? On what you're receiving?
Sure, I would have to go back and read the most recent reports. I'm relatively new to my particular position. I don't know if Dana has any data with her, but I'd be happy to provide that.
Perfect. Just so that we can get a taste of it, see how it is going. If you could give it to all the council?
Of course.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? Councilmember Wagner.
I'd like to see us be more explicit about the housing repair services. As I've been part of the Finance Committee in reviewing the payments for those, they're big payments, $6,000 to $10,000 to $12,000. And the thing is, this line doesn't say how critical those repairs are. Almost all of them are roofs or plumbing that we just need to get by. So I'd like to see it boost up the description of what we do with all that money.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Hearing none, all those in favor of resolution number 5337, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Passes. All right, at this point, we will move to mayor and council member reports. Mayor and city council may report on significant items associated with their appointed positions on federal, state, regional, and local organizations. We will begin with Deputy Mayor Wells.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have no report for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. We will move to Councilmember Baggett.
No report tonight, Your Honor.
Councilmember Holman.
Well, yes, on December 13th, I attended the SCORE Jail Administrative Board meeting. And SCORE Jail is a correction entity for misdemeanors run by 7 different cities. And I'm going to try and speak to good news. Now, what good news is there from a jail? The national recidivism rate is 85%, the rate at which someone that goes to jail comes back to jail. 85%. That's horrible rate. But at SCORE Jail, which has at any one day 700 inmates from the 7 aforementioned cities plus contract cities, has a recidivism rate of less than 38%. That's a 5-year rate that someone has not returned to that jail. 38%. And that's, we're breaking the national average. One of the small ways in which they do that is the care and treatment that they give the inmates that are incarcerated. For instance, if an inmate comes in who is addicted to an opioid, heroin, and is registered in a methadone program, they have a contract with the methadone provider to continue that inmate's treatment while they're incarcerated. In addition, when someone comes in who is addicted to an opioid, they have permission from the DEA to administer Suboxone to help them manage their addiction and start counseling while they're incarcerated. So those are the types of care and treatment that they are investing in the inmate so that they don't go out, so they're less likely to go out and caper. Those that are our frequent flyers, hopefully we're working on some other longer types of incarceration that will keep them out of harming our innocent citizens. But I think that's really a good factor, that 38% recidivism rate, much less than half of what the national average is. So that's a good thing that we do.
Good thing, yeah.
Thank you. Councilmember DeCoursey.
Thank you, Mayor. On December 5th, I attended the Affordable Housing Advisory Board meeting. These meetings usually last between 4 and 5 hours, so it's pretty much a daily session. Back in January, the governor directed the board to establish a subcommittee for the purpose of determining why we have such a crisis in Washington State related to affordable housing. The subcommittee was convened, and they put the acronym of HEART in their charter, calling themselves the Housing Affordability Response Team. Well, in July, there was a meeting that was held with the governor to present the findings of the HEART report in relation to the regulations, land use planning, underused public lands for affordable housing, and the preservation of existing affordable housing. That has now been followed up with a letter from the governor back to the Affordable Housing Advisory Board. And Jim Baumgart from the governor's office was at our meeting, and he's presented the response from the governor related to the recommendations made for affordable housing. So the significant considerations being made by the governor for this next legislative session and ongoing will be to look at opportunities to increase the accessibility of buildable lands within the urban growth areas, including identifying surplus state-owned real property, remediating contaminated land, and supporting local government in buildable land analysis. And there is going to be a year-long study done on buildable land analysis. Other significant considerations include increasing the affordable housing stock by continuing to look at increased investment in the Housing Trust Fund. Last year, we asked for the trust fund to be at a $200 million level. The governor's budget capped it at 116, and I believe the legislature capped that at 97 million. So this next legislative session, we're going to be pushing hard again for the $200 million within the Housing Trust Fund. And also to conduct a study to review permitting and code processing and for preservation of existing affordable housing with adequate funding that can provide predictability for various housing activities. Another highlight of the meeting was House Speaker Frank Chop was at the meeting giving us an overview of the short 60-day session that's about to come up, again with the priority that we're all waiting anxiously for the passage of a capital budget, which we hope will take place within the first 2 weeks or so of the session, but it's highly unlikely it will actually take place at that time. Then on December 8th, I attended the Association of Washington City's Board of Directors meeting, and the highlight of that meeting was to solidify the 2018 legislative priorities for AWC, which include the strengthening of city tools to address all housing conditions in our community. And this again is looking at additional flexibility, how cities can do a more enhanced review of housing related to state assistance, and also for cities to look at mitigation of the impacts of abandoned and bank-owned foreclosed homes. Secondly, to direct funds toward mental health, chemical dependency, and social service net programs. Thirdly, to enhance economic development tools and programs that foster business development in cities. And lastly, to preserve state shared revenues with cities and increase law enforcement training funds. Now, there has been a significant increase in sales tax revenue to the state of Washington, and AWC once again is going to push for additional shared revenues in this next legislative session. Unfortunately, during a 60-day session, we're not going to see a whole lot of activity, but we'll be there in force to pass the message along to our state legislators. That's my report.
Thank you. Councilmember Wagner, I'm going to have you go last, so I'm going to start down at the end with Councilmember Pelosa and work our way back this way. Is that all right with you? Sure.
Thank you, Mayor. I attended the King County Metropolitan Water Pollution Advisory Committee last week, and Wayne, you'll know this guy. Walter Cantor retired after 48 years in water up to his ankles. Water meaning drinking water, storm water, sewage, second treatment water, etc. He and I were on the Regional Water Quality Committee together, and I think he was when you were there as well. He's a former Boeing retiree like myself, and he did a great community service in the whole region in the topic of water. Because when I got on the Regional Water Quality Committee about 10 years ago, 12 years ago, all I thought about was drinking water. That's all I worried about. Now I know about stormwater, I know about sewage water. I'm an expert on water, sort of. So anyway, God bless Walt. He's going to officially retire. The West Point Treatment Plant, which is in the northwest near shore area of Magnolia District, had a failure last winter, as we all know. And so that has prompted a King County committee to put together an asset management plan. There are approximately 50,000 different assets governing the water system in our region, such as pumps, electrical, consoles, and all these things. because when the West Point facility failed, this got everybody thinking about the big costs involved of the failure of a lot of the equipment when it was flooded in that treatment plant. Also, the sewer capacity charge study is underway, and what that means is when you hook up a new structure to the metro sewer system, there's a hookup charge or a capacity charge. That price is being reviewed, that cost. Then I had another meeting dealing with the RIA 9 Water Resource Inventory Area number 9. That governs the Green River all the way up beyond Howard Hanson Dam. It's approximately 90 miles up into the North Cascades. Not North Cascades, into the South Cascade Range. We had a situation come up last month where a former employee of King County who was working for the RIA 9 team, she left her job voluntarily and went to California. Well, down there she was laid off within 3 months, and she put in a claim to the California unemployment. They agreed on her claim, and they then billed the King County $20,000. So there was a meeting the other day that I attended, and the RIA 9 group, management group, approved reimbursing King County out of the RIA 9 funds, which is our cost, part of our cost share from 17 different cities. I voted no because I felt that there was not due diligence in reviewing King County's position on why they should charge RIA 9 $20,000. So there'll be more on that later, and I even told him, I said, well, you know, if we go 17 different shares, we will probably deduct that from our next cost share review. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Trout Manuel.
Okay, on the 7th of December, Jessica Lefford, our city assistant city attorney, we attended the Regional Law and Safety Justice Committee at 7:30 in Seattle, and we had several judges get up and talk to us about this new program that they're bringing into King County, and it's called the UP, and that's Unified Payment Program, so that the courts can now have people come into any court in King County. These are perpetrators that have gotten speeding tickets and DUIs, and they can go to one court now and be able to pay their fines. They have also they're trying to make it easier so that people don't lose their license. They're making them be able to make say they have 3 different tickets in different counties. They can go to one court and be able to set up a payment plan. This program came, they talked about that they took several mayors and some of their attorneys to Spokane to see how the program works there. And they're having pretty much all of the, how they're going to have all the King County area cities to be able to charge this agency that they're getting is going to charge the person $25, and $7 of that will go into the cities, to the court system, and monthly, they'll be able to make monthly payments and be able to keep people from losing their driver's license. Because they said that before, people were being fined in different court systems, the money was going into collection agency, we were losing a lot of money. This way, they're making it a lot easier so that they can keep people working and be able to pay their fines and also be able to get their license. It's a fairly new program that they're starting to do. I think it's a great program to be able to keep these people from not being with their families and also be able to keep working so their families don't have to struggle. There's going to be more information on it. Judge Tucker and I talked a little bit about it, and she's really looking to see if we here in the city of Auburn could be able to hold a court here. But she didn't say any more about it. She said she would be talking to the mayor about it. So then on the 9th of December, Council Member Baggett and I and the mayor, we attended the breakfast with Santa Claus here in the community center. There was 2 different shifts. It was very well attended. The kids were very excited. We ran our little tush off back and forth to the kitchen to be able to feed over 200 and some families on the first shift, and the same thing on the second shift. On December 13th and the 14th, Council Member Baggett and I belong to the Blue Ribbon Committee, which on the 13th we talked about healthy weight, which we're looking to do a survey with the restaurants and also with our citizens on how to implement some healthy meals for children. This is something that we're just looking into right now. Then on the 14th, we met together with the mental health subcommittee, and we're trying to figure out how to implement the READY program into the school district. Pat Bailey, who is leading this, she had been waiting to hear from Rhonda Larson from the high school, and I had to call up Rhonda Larson for another committee that I'm on, so I got to talk to her, and she has already contacted Pat Bailey, and they're going to have a meeting on when to show the READY program to all of the school counselors. On the 15th, I was invited to go to CTAC to be able to go and talk and meet some of our police officers. It was called the Night of the Thousand Stars. And what they did there is they had police officers, the sheriff department from all over. And what the Thousand Stars mean is that they had 1,000 police officers out there patrolling and looking for people that were under the influence of alcohol. It was an honor to be one of their keynote speakers and share the story of the Please Don't Drink and Drive signs that I brought into the state of Washington. And they had over 160 agencies that took part on this. They're going to, the police departments are going to be out there patrolling from the 13th to the 31st. And it was kind of saddened that that evening, the same evening that we were talking about this, one of our patrol officers went out and stopped a man immediately, and then another person almost hit him, and he was under the influence. So
not the officer.
Not the officer.
Not
no.
the officer.
So this is a nice program that they're doing, and I just want us all to always thank our officers, our first responders, for doing the job that they're doing out there, because it's it's a hard, tough job that you guys are doing. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Wagner.
I didn't have a report for this week, but I'm still on the job till the end of this month, so I have a meeting this Thursday in Pierce County. As many of you know, the city is a 2-county city. About 10% of our residents live in Pierce County, so several of us monitor those activities in the government in Pierce County. I wanted to make a comment about the READY program, which READY stands for Real Emergency Action Depends on You. And it's aimed at helping people understand what to do when they're in a mental health crisis situation. And I talked to Pat Bailey, the person who came up with this program and is moving it forward, about incorporating a little more information about where you can go to get more detailed training. You get an overview with the READY program, and you certainly begin to understand that you are capable of doing something in an emergency. But I like to get down to the details, and she says there is several places in town that you can go and get those detailed training. So I'm pleased to see the READY program expanding. I don't think there's anything else like it around the state, and it's a great step forward. Thank you.
Thank you, and I will agree, the READY program, we did copyright that. We went through the process of having it copyrighted, and just recently had it translated into Spanish. So a huge thank you to Leticia for helping with that, and it will be ready for public viewing very soon with the translation. A few things going on in the last couple of weeks. On Wednesday, December 6th, I had the chance to go to Kylo Middle School, which is part of the Federal Way School District, but has an Auburn address, and speak with the middle school students in their AVID program. And the AVID program is helping get students ready for college and to even believe that they are capable of attending college. This was a short day, so each class was just about 35 minutes long. And so I spoke with 6 different classes, talking about my background, the fact that I was the first in my family to attend college, and many of these students are going to be the same, the first person in their family to attend college, and just talking about what their hopes, their dreams, their goals are. And it was a very uplifting day. I mentioned recently that some of the questions that they asked included, do you ride around in a limo? Do you live in a mansion? And do you get to do whatever you want to do? And the answer resoundingly to each one of those questions is no. But it was really a lot of fun spending time with them, and he did the nicest thing. The teacher had each one of them. So last week I received a thank you poster from the students. Each one of the students in those classes, each one had a 3x3 Post-it, and they wrote what they were thankful for from the time that we were able to spend together, or what they learned from the time that we spent together. And the teacher delivered that to the office, and so that will be something that I cherish for a long time. And I read a few of them, and so anytime I need a smile, I'm going to make sure to read one of those Post-it notes. It's a very, very sweet idea, very kind of them to do that, to take the time. On the 7th of December, I attended the annual tree lighting program up at Wesley Homes. It was a lovely ceremony, and former Mayor Chuck Booth's wife, Leela, as we know, has a beautiful voice, and so she was one of the singers that evening. She did a beautiful solo, and it was a lovely evening. And just, most of you realize this, but the highest per capita CERT-trained volunteers is up at Wesley Homes. When I even asked that night how many of them in the audience were CERT-trained, and about half of the people in that audience had been trained for that. So I jokingly said if there was ever an emergency, I'm coming up there to be with them so they can take care of everything. On the 9th, as Councilmember Trout Manuel said, we had the Santa breakfast here at the Community and Events Center. Very well attended, as always, and it's always a lot of fun to see the kids be able to go out and talk with Santa for a while. After I left here, I went to the Overcomers Covenant Church in Auburn up on Military, and was there for Mission Africa annual Smiles at Christmas program. The church was packed with families who had signed up to be able to receive warm coats for their children, as well as select a few gifts for their children for Christmas. And the kids, while the parents were shopping,
were treated to face painting, cookie decorating, and a bouncy house, along with other fun activities. And it was just a really great way to warm one's heart for Christmas holidays, to see those smiles that are so deserving at Christmas time. On Tuesday, December 12th, I can't believe some of you council members didn't talk about this, the South Sound Chamber of Commerce Legislative Coalition, they had their annual breakfast, and Governor Inslee was the keynote speaker this year and was talking about something that we in the city of Auburn, the Auburn School District, and Green River College have been working on, and that is apprenticeship programs and family wage middle income jobs. So it's nice to know that others are getting on board with the ideas that we have here in Auburn. The outgoing mayor of Kent, Mayor Suzette Cook, held her farewell party on Thursday, December 14th over at the Showware Center, and it was a very well-attended event. For those of you old enough to remember, John Keister of Almost Live was the MC for the evening, and he caught a little bit of flack for all those years on Almost Live of picking on the city of Kent. So it was a well-deserved roast, not only of Mayor Cook, who had many, many people sharing wonderful stories of her heart and her dedication to South King County and specifically to Kent. But John Keister also announced that evening that it was his retirement from public appearances. So it's an interesting evening. And on Saturday, the 16th, along with Councilmember Pelosi, I believe he was there for a while, we had the Valley Professional Firefighters, Valley Regional Fire Authority, and the Auburn Food Bank did their annual toy giveaway. And the Commons area of Auburn High School was packed with toys for children from birth to 12 years of age. And I believe there were 700 children who received toys this year. So that is down from previous years. Debbie Christian tonight said that the number of those who registered has come down, so hopefully that is a good indicator of the economy in our area. And after leaving that, I attended Gildo Ray's Holiday Festival, also where there was a toy giveaway and clothing giveaway, and Santa Claus was there as well to greet the children, and Pat Bailey had brought a couple of her elves with her to hand out candy to the children while they were waiting in line. Always a fun event. And I want to say how sad we were to hear of the passing of Sumner Mayor Dave Enslow. Many of you have worked with him or know him. He has served the community well, and he had chose not to run for re-election, so tonight was supposed to be his farewell celebration, and on Friday we received notice that the celebration needed to be postponed due to health reasons, and then yesterday received the sad news that Mayor Enslow had passed away. So our thoughts and our prayers are with the city of Sumner as well as Dave's family, knowing that this is never an easy thing to deal with, the passing of a loved one, but especially difficult during the holiday season. So we will miss him and all that he did, all those that he mentored over the years. I want to say Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Festivus for those of you that are Jerry Seinfeld fans, and a final thank you to Councilmember Rich Wagner for your years of dedicated service, for not always agreeing with me, but the opportunity for us to disagree in a respectful manner and know that we always had the best interests of the city and the people that we served at heart whenever we agreed and disagreed. I will miss your counsel and guidance. It is not a council that I have ever known without you serving. It has been an honor to serve beside you and with you, and we will miss you. Yes, did you want to say one? Yes.
I'd like to add to the mayor's comment about Mayor Enslow Sumner. He was one of the people that I met through my representation of our city of or a portion of the city that is Pierce County. And I felt like he was a kindred spirit. It was a town that had kind of the same situation we've got, a lot of trucks passing through to distribution centers, a real hometown feel. A certain part of the population that wanted no growth, and others that wanted a lot of growth. So Dave was a really good sounding board for a lot of the ideas, and it brings home the real thing I want to say. Well, certainly I want to recognize the mayor, but the thing is, we spend a lot of time in regional committees. Councilmember Pelosi probably the most, and he reports on those. But those regional committees give you a chance to meet outstanding individuals like Dave Inslow. So I just wanted to say that on the record before we leave tonight.
Thank you, and with that, would you like to gavel us close with this very special gavel, Councilmember?
I'll be careful.
Yeah, get your
The
fingers
meeting
up.
is adjourned.